In the UFC, confidence is key, but sometimes cockiness can lead to disaster. These fighters talked the talk but got humbled in the octagon in the most brutal ways possible. From shocking knockouts to humiliating defeats, let's dive into 10 cocky UFC fighters who got a reality check. Number 1. Ronda Rousey versus Holly Holm. Ronda Rousey was the undisputed queen of MMA, tearing through opponents in mere seconds, her confidence as overwhelming as her armbar. She didn't just dominate, she belittled every challenger, including Holly Holm, scoffing at the idea that Holm's striking could pose a threat. But when the cage door locked and the fight began, the world witnessed a stunning shift. Holm put on a masterclass, dismantling Rousey with pinpoint accuracy, exposing every flaw in the champion's game. Then came the moment that shattered an era, a perfectly placed head kick that sent Rousey crashing to the canvas, marking the violent and unforgettable end of her reign. Number 2. Conor McGregor versus Khabib Nurmagomedov. In the build-up to UFC 229, Conor McGregor unleashed a verbal onslaught like never before, turning the fight into a deeply personal war. No topic was off-limits. He insulted Khabib Nurmagomedov's family, mocked his religion, and disrespected his entire country. The tension boiled over, setting the stage for one of the most heated grudge matches in MMA history. But when the cage door locked, the talking stopped, and reality hit hard. Khabib imposed his relentless will, dragging McGregor to the canvas and mauling him round after round, breaking his spirit with suffocating pressure. By the fourth round, the inevitable came. Khabib locked in a tight neck crank, forcing McGregor to tap. Yet the chaos didn't end there. Fueled by months of insults, Khabib scaled the cage and leaped into the crowd, targeting McGregor's team in an all-out brawl. It was a statement beyond sport, revenge, delivered in the most dominant and unforgiving way possible. Number 3. Sean O'Malley versus Marlon Chito, Vera 1. Sean O'Malley walked into the octagon undefeated, overflowing with confidence and convinced that Marlon Chito Vera was just another stepping stone on his path to superstardom. Flashy, brash, and supremely skilled, O'Malley carried himself like a fighter who couldn't be touched, until reality struck with a single, perfectly placed leg kick. Vera's strike landed with pinpoint accuracy, shutting down O'Malley's peroneal nerve and turning his movement into a disaster. His once fluid footwork became shaky, his balance compromised, and in an instant, his aura of invincibility began to crumble. Sensing the moment, Chito pounced, unleashing a brutal ground-and-pound assault that forced the referee to step in before the first round even ended. In the blink of an eye, O'Malley's unbeaten record was gone, and with it, a harsh lesson. Every fighter is human, and underestimating an opponent can lead to a painful dose of humility. Number 4. Anderson Silva versus Chris Weidman. Anderson Silva wasn't just a champion. He was a magician in the octagon, a master of mind games who made elite fighters look foolish. With his hands down, head movement sharper than a whisper, and a smirk on his face, he taunted opponents, daring them to hit him. For years, it worked. He evaded strikes with supernatural reflexes, countered with pinpoint precision, and left the world in awe. But on one fateful night at UFC 162, his signature showboating turned into his downfall. Facing the undefeated Chris Weidman, Silva leaned back, hands low, inviting danger as he had so many times before. Only this time he miscalculated. Weidman stayed composed, fired a crisp left hook, and caught Silva clean on the jaw. The king collapsed in an instant, crashing to the canvas in a shocking, almost surreal moment. Just like that, Silva's legendary reign was over. Not with another highlight reel knockout of his own, but as the victim of his own overconfidence. The era of untouchable dominance had come to a sudden, brutal end. Number 5. Jorge Masvidal vs. Kamaru Usman rematch. After their first fight, Jorge Masvidal had no shortage of words for Kamaru Usman. He laughed off the loss, dismissing Usman as a fighter with pillow hands and calling him boring. Confident as ever, Masvidal claimed that with a full training camp, he'd make the rematch look easy. But inside the cage, reality had a different script. Under the bright lights of UFC 261, Usman was done with the talk. This wasn't going to be another grinding decision. He had a point to prove. From the opening bell, he fought with calculated aggression, setting traps and testing Masvidal's defense. Then, in the second round, the moment came. As Masvidal loaded up with his signature swagger, Usman uncorked a right hand so precise and powerful that it sent sweat flying from Masvidal's head in slow-motion replay. Masvidal's body shut down before he even hit the canvas, crumpling in a way that left no room for doubt. The man who had never been knocked out cold was now lying unconscious in front of a roaring crowd. Usman didn't just silence him, he delivered one of the most vicious knockouts in UFC history, making it clear that his hands were anything but pillow soft. Number 6. Luke Rockhold vs. Michael Bisping rematch. Luke Rockhold had already defeated Michael Bisping once and made sure the world knew it. In the lead-up to their rematch, he treated Bisping like an afterthought, mocking him, dismissing him as a joke, and carrying himself like a champion who had nothing to fear. But on fight night, arrogance met its reckoning. Stepping in on short notice, Bisping had everything to gain and nothing to lose. He came out sharp, focused, and ready to seize the moment. Then, in the first round, he did the unthinkable. As Rockhold lazily dropped his hands, Bisping capitalized, landing a flush left hook that rocked the champion. Smelling blood, he pounced, unleashing a relentless barrage that sent Rockhold crashing to the canvas. In mere minutes, the world had changed. The underdog had snatched the belt, silenced his doubters, and handed Rockhold a brutal lesson in humility. Bisping didn't just win the fight, he took Rockhold's title, his pride, and the last laugh in one unforgettable night. Number 7. Aljamain Sterling vs. Sean O'Malley. Aljamain Sterling entered the Octagon as the reigning champion, convinced that his relentless grappling would smother Sean O'Malley. Confident and battle-tested, he believed the flashy striker across from him wasn't ready for the grind of championship rounds. But when the fight began, it became clear. This was O'Malley's moment. Sterling pressed forward, looking to close the distance, but O'Malley stayed patient, reading every movement like a seasoned sniper. Then, in a split second, the fight changed forever. As Sterling lunged in, O'Malley unleashed a perfectly timed counter right hand that landed flush. The champion's legs buckled, his title slipping away before he even hit the mat. O'Malley followed up with ruthless precision, forcing the referee to step in and seal Sterling's fate. In one brilliant, brutal exchange, O'Malley didn't just win. He announced himself as the future, ending Sterling's reign in spectacular, highlight reel fashion. Number 8. Israel Adesanya vs. Alex Pereira first. Israel Adesanya ruled the UFC's middleweight division with precision, skill, and an air of invincibility. But lurking in his past was Alex Pereira, the one man who had beaten him not once, but twice in kickboxing. Despite those losses, Adesanya remained confident, dismissing the idea that history would repeat itself inside the Octagon. For most of the fight, it looked like he was right. Adesanya controlled the pace, landing sharp counters and seemingly cruising toward victory. But Pereira, known for his freakish power, only needed one opening. In the 5th round, he found it. A thunderous left hand rocked Adesanya, sending shockwaves through the arena. Pereira smelled blood and unleashed a relentless barrage, forcing the referee to step in and stop the fight. In an instant, Adesanya's reign was over. The man who had haunted him in kickboxing had now taken his UFC title, proving once again that some ghosts are impossible to outrun. Number 9. Ben Askren versus Jorge Masvidal. Ben Askren entered the UFC undefeated, a dominant wrestler with an iron chin and a relentless ability to grind opponents down. But leading up to his fight with Jorge Masvidal, his greatest weapon wasn't his grappling, it was his mouth. Askren trash-talked endlessly, mocking Masvidal at every turn, convinced that his wrestling would break him. Masvidal, however, had other plans. From the opening bell, he sprinted across the cage, launching himself into the air with a perfectly timed flying knee. In just 5 seconds, before Askren could even attempt a takedown, Masvidal's knee collided with his skull, shutting off the lights instantly. Askren was out cold before he even hit the mat, his undefeated record erased in the blink of an eye. Masvidal strutted away, hands behind his back, as the arena erupted. It wasn't just a knockout, it was a statement. In one breathtaking moment, he delivered the fastest and most iconic finish in UFC history, silencing Askren and etching his name into the sport's highlight reel forever. Number 10. Cody Garbrandt versus TJ Dillashaw. Cody Garbrandt was young, brash, and overflowing with confidence. After dismantling Dominic Cruz to claim the bantamweight title, he believed he was untouchable, and no one fueled his fire more than former teammate-turned-rival TJ Dillashaw. The buildup was pure bad blood, with Garbrandt vowing to expose Dillashaw and end him inside the cage. But when the fight began, it was Dillashaw who flipped the script. After weathering Garbrandt's early blitz, he found his moment. A thunderous head kick followed by a crushing right hand that sent Garbrandt crashing to the canvas. The rivalry was supposed to end there, but in their rematch, history repeated itself. This time, another perfectly timed counter put Garbrandt down again, his reckless aggression proving to be his downfall. Once a rising star destined for greatness, Garbrandt was left in ruins. Dillashaw hadn't just beaten him, he had broken him, handing him back-to-back knockouts that sent his once promising career into a downward spiral. The UFC is the ultimate proving ground, and as we've seen, cockiness can be a double-edged sword. Who do you think got humbled the hardest? Drop your thoughts in the comments and don't forget to like and subscribe for more fight breakdowns.